Coming up, we have stories about giving away food you didn't prepare, realizing your worth, having a family member steal your baby name, family dinners, family heirlooms, vegetarian mix-up, splitting the bills evenly. It's going to be a fun night. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you, and this one is from AITA and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Being Rude to My Wife Because She Fed Her Parents and Left Me with Nothing? I was making dinner and got a little behind. I had a meeting for a charity I help out with and had to leave before I could eat dinner. I rushed out the door and said I'd be home in an hour. I get home and I'm rummaging through the fridge and my wife asked me what I'm looking for. I said, the leftovers. She said there weren't any and that she offered the food to her parents who stopped by. I said, thanks a lot, rudely, and she asked what the problem was. I told her I was upset that I didn't get dinner because she gave it away, and now I have to find something to eat at 9 o'clock at night. She told me I was being an asshole, and that it wasn't a big deal. I just shrugged and started making my meal. Am I the astronaut? Top comment on this one. Let me double check what I read there. You made the dinner. You didn't have a chance to eat any of it, and she gave away your food. If she knew you didn't have a chance to eat any of the food you made, and it seems likely, then she is the asshole. Edit. I thought this was obvious, but NTA. Okay, so that's not how I understood the story. How I understood the story was he rushed out the door. She didn't know that he didn't have a chance to eat it. And she never clarifies whether she knew or did not know that he didn't have a chance to eat. I think this is a miscommunication. I think so. I think it's a miscommunication. I think, is there an obligation on her or should it be obvious that he didn't have any? I guess there's the question. If he prepared dinner, it should be obvious that his portion was not missing. So she should have known or should have inferred or deduced, right? She should have deduced. And he said, thanks a lot. It's not like he was like, you stupid bitch, quit giving away my food. You know, he was like, thanks a lot. Cool. Now I have to rummage and eat a Star Crunch and feel like I'm chewing on nails at 9 o'clock at night. Speaking of, every once in a blue moon, I say every once in a blue moon, it happens pretty often. I'll grab a little chocolatey snack late at night while we're watching Love Island. Last night, we're watching Love Island. We're giggling our asses off. My favorite thing to do in the world with Candy Thunder, just giggle our asses off. We're giggling our asses off just about the show. And then I look over and there's this brown smudgy stain on the bed. And the dogs get up on the bed. So I look at it and I'm like, I don't know if this is chocolate or poop. And I say that out loud, and Candy Thunder has a mouthful of water because she's just taken a big old gulp, from her Stanley cup. And I hear it eject from her mouth, and I hear splat, splat, splat. She spit this water halfway across the room, y'all, when I said, I don't know if this is chocolate or poop. It was chocolate, by the way. I tasted it just to make sure. It was chocolate. Yeah. So in this case, I'm going NTA because his partner should have deduced, no matter what, that his portion was not missing. Even if he didn't explicitly say, hey, I didn't eat, don't give any food away, he shouldn't have to. Also, I believe as the maker of the food probably needs to give some kind of clearance on the giving away of leftovers. Now, our situation is a little bit different because I feel like this is something that we would do, but you would know it's no big deal. It's no big deal. I don't think it's an ESH because I think he had the right to be a little perturbed and he wasn't over the top rude. He was just perturbed. Right? Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This one actually comes from the Dusty Thunder subreddit. It sounds cool. It's got a really cool name. I don't know where that name came from, but it rolls off the tongue, if you know what I mean. This story is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Now Realizing My Worth, 36 Female, and Wanting Out of My Marriage with 38 Male? So we have been together over a decade. Oh, timeout. By the way, this is on the Dusty Thunder subreddit. OP, if you're in chat and you want to claim your story, feel free. It's entirely up to you. So we have been together over a decade and have children together as well as other assets. He's cheated on me twice. Once before we were married and once right after we had our first baby. Red flag. Before you come at me in comments, just know I'm already beating myself up about not leaving sooner. Now that I'm older and more wise, I am working on myself. I've been looking back at our relationship and I think I've been emotionally abused. I've kind of had a huge moment that just made me realize that maybe one day I can have someone that treats me better. He has a temper, gets in moods, even his family sees this, which often ruins any good moment in my life that should be our happiest moments. We hardly have sex, and if we do, it's because I've implied I'd like to. Not much affection at all. He uses substances to cope with stress often. I've been asking him to get some medical/therapy for years, and he hasn't, but ever since I've mentioned that I'm considering leaving him, he has done a whole flip. He's no longer using any substances. He's working out and says he will keep trying to call the doctor to get some help, although I've mentioned he can call other therapists and get in right away. He's a great father to our children and works his ass off to provide for the family, which I am truly appreciative of. Am I going to destroy my children's lives if I separate from him? We just settled into a new house, and now I feel like I'll upheave their lives again just because I want/deserve more. I no longer feel love between us, and I know I'll be taking a risk being alone forever, but I honestly think I would be happier not walking on eggshells around him. And I'm wondering how long this phase of him turning everything around will last. I thought I forgave him for the past, but things he continues to do trigger those moments coming back to me. I feel like I've given this man all of my love and I have just been taken full advantage of. I don't even know where to start with the whole divorce thing. I'm so overwhelmed I can't see how it will all work out financially for me. If you've gotten this far, thank you for reading. Well, shit. Okay. No, you can't be the asshole for realizing your worth and wanting out of your marriage. Now wanting is a feeling. Right? You haven't acted on this specifically yet, but you did have the conversation. And I think that's interesting. You did have the conversation and he started doing work. That's a good sign, but you're right. There's no way to know how long that's going to last. But I guess the fork in the road here is do you trust that he's actually going to stick to doing enough work to truly change? Do people really change? That's another conversation here. Or has the damage already been done and you're just now realizing it? The damage has been done far beyond this point. That's the fork in the road, right? Either way, your worry about upheaving the children's lives, let me give that to you in a different lens. Your children are watching everything you do and learning from you, including what a marriage should look like, including what love should look like. And if you're at this point where you feel like you have not been valued at all or severely undervalued in your marriage to this point, having enough respect for yourself to leave and to accept the risk of being independent for the rest of your life, that is a huge positive signal to your kids, because heaven forbid they end up in a situation someday where they have to make the same situation. What would you want them to choose? And I actually said this in a comment to somebody in the VIP group the other day who was kind of having a similar conversation, but it was make the choice you would want your kids to make someday, right? Which falls right in line with the movie that we went and saw on Candy Thunder's B-Day. It Ends With Us. I think I would not worry about upheaving their lives. Yeah, it's going to change things. It's going to suck for a little bit. Big picture here, teach them what it's like to have value in themselves. And again, I'm not saying that you should leave. I'm saying you should balance all these things. You should weigh and measure all of these things together and say, look, do I truly believe he's going to put the work in? Another way to look at this is if you're not 100% convinced that he'll put the work in, you're not. I know you're not because of what you said. You can develop some rigid structure to this too and say, okay, look, hubby, if at any point in time I feel like this is slacking and moving the direction that it shouldn't be, I'm going to give you notice. And if 1 week from that point it hasn't turned around, I'm out. You can create some kind of structure here that prevents him from backsliding. And it'd be really easy for him to backslide if there is no structure, right? So you can develop some kind of system to keep him honest here and to keep it going. I don't know if his heart is really in it or not. I don't know if he's doing this right now, just because he knows that he'll lose time with the kids. I don't know. I feel like I would like to know what Candy Thunder thinks about this, though. So I'm going to bring her up and have her give her 2 cents on this, if you guys are okay with that. Come on, Candy Thunder. She didn't know this was happening, but it's happening.
Normally I have time to prepare.
Yeah, no time to prepare.
I'm pulling a Dusty Thunder.
You did read the story though, so
yeah, I did. I selected it. One, because there's multiple things. One, 0 is greater than -1.
I don't know who said that, but they're brilliant.
And, I think it was me. I'm just kidding. I feel like this guy has shown you who he is. If somebody cheated on me twice, that is not someone that I could stay with. But the strength that you had to try to forgive, I hope was out of the strength for your family and not because it's harder to leave. But a man who cheats on you after you've had a baby is not a man. I'm sorry.
Kira makes a good point here too. She says staying would only teach them to stay longer than they should, and that could be right. That very well could be accurate.
The biggest thing in this story, and I hope OP that you hear me, is that you are indifferent. You said that you don't think that you love him. You see his flaws, and you see them more than you saw like what you loved about him. And to me, that says that you're done. To me, that says that you have exhausted all efforts, and yet you like keep arriving at the same point. And now, like, the love is gone, and now I feel like you can move forward if that is what you truly want. But I really hope that you lean into your self-worth and keep working on that, whether or not you make the choice to leave now or a year from now or 6 months from now. I just hope that you continue to work on yourself, because I feel like when you lean into yourself, it makes you become such a stronger person. But as a mom, like it really, really makes you a better mom. And I know that there's some women that don't work on themselves, and I'm guilty of that. And I know that I get so stretched, like I get stretched so thin that it's, when you work on yourself, you're a better person.
Yeah.
So I would keep doing that and keep making the decisions that are for you and that are the best for your children. Because if it took you saying I'm going to leave for him to actually do something, then that's not an adult. That's a child. That's like telling your child that you have this, this, and this to do before it's time for bed. And that's not a partner. That's not a relationship.
That's true.
But I don't want to tell someone to leave a relationship. I think you have to come to that conclusion on your own. And I don't think anyone can tell another person to leave that they don't have another choice. Yeah. I think there's something in you that has to make the decision to walk away. But I feel like
recognizing
you're there.
Where you are in the process, and first thing you say is you're at indifference is huge. Because at indifference, it's too late.
Yeah.
It is too late. You're past resentment. Like, it's at that point, I don't think there's any way you climb back up the ladder. It just doesn't work that way.
I don't know if you fall out of love with somebody, if you can fall back in love. I'm sure that it's possible, but I think that would take a lot of conscious effort to do that. So what does he give you that makes you want to put forth that effort? I guess that's really the only question that I would ask myself.
Yeah. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another story from Reddit. This one is actually from the AITA subreddit. I know, shocking. And it's titled, Am I the Astronaut for Deciding Not to Use My Favorite Girl Name for My Daughter Like I Always Wanted because my husband's sister decided to use it for hers? That bitch. My husband and I, 30 male and female, welcomed our second baby into the world a few weeks ago. We had originally planned to give her a name that I adored since childhood. But then my husband's sister had a baby girl and she decided to give her daughter this name. It came from nowhere because she always preferred timeless names like Elizabeth, Emily, Emma, Catherine, and so on. The name she ended up going for, / my favorite girl name, is Serafina. It's not a name that she just pulled from the, okay. A lot of people knew it was my favorite, and it was our girl name. When I was expecting our son, we had mentioned it would be our girl name. Even before having kids, friends and family knew that was the name I adored. But I was never fond of family members sharing the same first name. I know what happens. I know it's not the end of the world. Nobody owns a name. I also know that in some families, it's very common for relatives to have the same first name, but I personally don't love it. So after sister-in-law had her baby, we came up with another name for our daughter. My in-laws had been surprised when sister-in-law had her daughter and announced the name. Most people had expected her daughter to be Emily because she talked about that name a lot. Serafina came from nowhere with her. Nah, OP, it came from somewhere. When we announced our daughter's name, the actual name after she was born, we did get asked why we had chosen not to use Serafina. And my husband told them we had decided to go with something else during the pregnancy because we felt it was for the best. No specific reason given, at least not that he brought up around me. But his mom and his other sister and one of his brothers did make comments to sister-in-law about it being her fault. They said it was pretty clear our change came because she used the name we intended to use. Sister-in-law ended up fighting with her mom because it was always clear I was never sister-in-law's favorite person, and she accused her of doing it spitefully. Hey-o, mom, mother-in-law, going to bat for OP? Huh? I still haven't made a green flags animation, but I need to. I'm writing it down. Green flags. Maybe someday I'll get that done. Now I gotta find my place. Sorry. This has come back around to me because sister-in-law has now come for me, saying I should have used the name too. I shouldn't have let her get blamed for stealing a name when nobody can steal a name. Hold up. This bitch gets busted for stealing your name and blames it on you? You've got to be shitting me. How is this bizzo working it out in her mind where she's like, I know what I'll do. I'll throw shade at OP because OP didn't use the name that I stole. That makes sense. Wow. I've got a name for you, sister-in-law. First name Biz, middle name Natch. I told her I never accused her of anything like that. She told me I didn't need to because the name Serafina was something everyone knew for years that I loved, and then all of a sudden I finally have a girl and use a different name? Oh wait, she just admitted complicit knowledge of stealing the name from you. And it happens just after she also decides to use the name for her daughter. I told, what is she trying to accomplish with this? She's going in after you. She's like, you've been talking about that name for years. Everybody knows that's your name. As soon as I steal the name, you don't use the name? Yeah. Why are you confessing, Biznatch? And it happens just after she also decides to use the name for her daughter. I told her we're entitled to change our minds just like she is. Entitled is right. I also told her I don't have to answer to her. She told me I created drama for no reason, and there's no way the change idea came from her brother, that it was clearly me who got butthurt over it. She told me to get over it, and there could have been two Serafinas. She also accidentally admitted she had been waiting for me to confront her on the name. Oh, so you did it to start shit, Biznatch. Well. She caught herself before finishing and just went on about how I had changed the name to stir shit and make her family turn on her. She also accused me of using the girls as pawns in this whole thing. Am I the astronaut? No, OP, you are not. You are dealing with a professional shit stirrer, though. Biznatch is hardcore about this shit, but you reverse uno'd her, which I love. Like, standing ovation for OP because seeing the writing on the wall here, not confronting her, not announcing you're going to use a different name, waiting until after the birth, and then saying this is the name we chose, forced her hand. The fact that she is still acting like the victim in this situation and just coming at you because the family came at her and called her to the carpet is just confirmation of what everybody in this entire planet knows about Biznatch, except for Biznatch. Biznatch's own mom is like, you're a Biznatch. And she's like, that bitch sister-in-law. Sister-in-law. Ask on one. Biznatch. OP. NTA. Mean girl for sure, Sarah. Yeah. And now the kid, Serafina, is growing up with this cursed name because it was stolen from somebody. Look, OP was willing to let it go and not start shit at all. Not have any kind of conflict going at all. Sister-in-law came after her. The thief. It's like somebody stealing your car and then you getting a different car and then coming back and being like, why didn't you come for this car, asshole? Like, I don't think you understand what's happening here, Biznatch. I don't understand. Yes, definitely no contact if that's an option. Please. She did. She weaponized her child's name and her child. Because now for the rest of her life, Serafina is going to be like, why is my name a problem? Ah! Hello there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another Reddit story for you. This one comes from AITA, and it is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Telling My Family No More to Monthly Family Dinners? Ever since my dad was a kid, our family has done monthly family dinners, nicer ones than your average family dinner. It's something our family did when my siblings and I were kids too. We'd have grandparents over and we'd all have a nicer dinner together. When my siblings and I grew up, we still did it, only instead of what happened before, where branches broke off over time and did their own, they decided we should include partners and spouses and our kids as a whole in one. By the time I was 19, the family had decided they would take turns hosting each month to lessen the burden. My wife was excited to be a part of them at first. We started during our relationship. I did the cooking to start, and then she took over after a while because she wanted to. My family had seemingly gotten along with my wife before this point, but they were overly harsh of her cooking, with the exception of my two younger siblings. She tried to make them happy, but no dice. I told them they could be kinder. They said she should cook better or cook different things. Wow. Way to be grateful for the meal that somebody gave you for free, you dicks. They said she should cook better or cook different things. My wife didn't make anything they don't eat, but nothing was right. She grew frustrated and I grew suspicious. So we hosted a couple of months ago and I told my wife we were going to pretend I did the cooking just to see. She told me she felt like they were just not fond of her food. I pointed out that nobody had the same amount of complaints as them, and they even criticized the steak and potatoes they all seemed to go crazy for. She went along with the plan, and when my family thought I had cooked it, they loved it. Said it was so good, my wife had decided to let a real talent take over. Wow, these are pieces of shit. That it was so nice to have something a little different, curry, and all this very lovely stuff. My younger brother and sister weren't fooled, but they enjoyed watching the rest of our family dig a hole. When the rest of my family heard it was my wife's food and not mine, they tried so hard to backtrack on all the nice stuff. The rest of the dinner went in tense silence and my wife's eyes were opened. I told her I was done with these dinners and she was my priority. She felt a little bad. I told her we could have dinners with my younger brother and sister sometimes. It's less stress anyway. When we didn't show up to last month's dinner or this one, my parents and siblings started asking questions. I told them each time we weren't going again, but missing two made it sink in. They told me we need to be there. I said, never again. My wife doesn't deserve their disrespect. I told them they ruined what they wanted by being assholes to her. They said I was overreacting, making very relationship-harming choices, and treating them badly for simply having issues with my wife's food. They also said to think of future kids and how they'll miss out. Some of it got to my wife a little, which I have tried to reassure her about. Am I the astronaut? They don't have an issue with her food. They have an issue with her. That was proven. Additional comments here. Comment. NTA, it's pretty clear the issue isn't her food. It's her. For whatever reason, they don't seem to like her. Good for you for standing up to them. OP, having that confirmed sucked badly, but I wasn't going to pretend that it was okay to treat her this way either. They wouldn't come right out and say it either. They tried to hide behind the food. Comment, start a new tradition with your younger brother and sister, invite them only to your house, forget the rest of them. OP, that's the plan. Yeah, I think it's a really good plan. And I think you need to call them to the carpet, OP, on this and say, look, you cannot say that it's the food. You can't, because we proved with an experiment that it's not. It's been proven. You targeted her as a human being, because when you thought I had cooked the same damn food, you loved it. As soon as you found out it was really her, you hated it. The food didn't change. The cook did. Yeah, what the? And good for you, OP, for prioritizing your wife and the family that you created rather than the family you came from. Their insistence that you need to be there, like, why? Why? This is monthly too. It's like the holidays once a month with your crew. I mean, it would be cool if everybody got along, but as soon as somebody starts being an ass bag, the whole thing falls apart. And it was the parents that started being the ass bags. What do you expect? The monthly family get together is not a time to just be unbridled assholes to whoever you want. That's not what it's for. It's for being together, for camaraderie, for having quality time with one another that you might not get otherwise. It is not an opportunity to beat up on people. I am all for starting the new tradition with the people who aren't ass bags. Start your own thing. You know what? Plan it on the same night. Have your own side thing the same night as their thing. So the people who come to yours have to miss theirs. Them. This is war. NTA for you, OP. And the question was, am I the astronaut for telling my family no more to monthly family dinners. Absolutely not. Your family's got to go to Ask on One, because even after proving that this was targeting her as a human being, they still tried to backtrack and say it was the food, and then tried to make you feel bad. They're trying to pretend like nothing happened. They just don't like her as a person. And it sounds like it could be an ethnic thing. They may not like her because she's different. Huh. Okay, so it's not an ethnic thing, Candy Thunder said from comments. So she's the same as the rest of them, but she enjoys cooking different foods. So there's no clear distinction on what it is they have a problem with for her specifically. But it is something. It is something. Here we go. Okay. So OP says, I've asked them once why they were so harsh about her cooking. The answers they gave me tell me they won't be honest about the why. They also denied that they disliked my wife, but clearly they do, since they loved the food once they thought I cooked it. So they're just lying. They're just lying about it. They can't even own up to it, which is just so cowardly. It's like, okay. Yep, not going to be doing that anymore. Good for you. Probably should have done it a long time ago, but you did it, and that's the important part. It's interesting that it's your family. Your wife is the one who feels bad now because some of the comments got to her. She's wondering if she's the asshole or if you guys are assholes for not doing this. You're not. You know what's right. She's wondering. Maybe they hate her because she's good. It could be jealousy driven. It absolutely could be. They can't be kind to someone that isn't like from them. So when they thought it was your food, OP, they're all for it. But as soon as they found out it was hers, they're like, oh no, that can't be right. That can't be right. Possible. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder again with another Reddit story for you. This one comes from AITAH and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Not Letting My Ex-Husband's New Girlfriend Have a Piece of His Mother's Jewelry? Throwaway, because family knows my main. I, 40 female, and my ex, we'll call him Joe, 41 male, were high school sweethearts. Started dating when we were 17, married at 19, and divorced 20 years later, so going on 2 years now. We have an amazing daughter, Sarah, who is 8, and has adjusted really well to the separation. Joe and I get along great. The divorce was amicable and we're still good friends. Not like we hang out alone or anything, but we don't argue or fuss at each other, help each other out, and just overall have each other's backs because at the end of the day, our number one priority will always be Sarah and doing what is best for her. Good for you. We've both moved on and are in serious long-term relationships with other people. His girlfriend, Lily, 46 female, is great and really good for him. I've never had any conflict with her and enjoy spending time with her when we all get together for holidays and other important events or celebrations. Until last week. Joe's parents passed away within a month of each other last summer, and it was devastating for all of us. Even though Joe and I had already been divorced for about a year, they still treated me like family and I loved them dearly. Joe and Lily hadn't started dating yet, so she never met them, which is a shame. They were incredible people. Long story to get to the point, but I feel like the background is important. Last week, Sarah got a box in the mail from her aunt, who was responsible for dividing up my late mother-in-law's jewelry amongst the kids and grandkids. She had a huge collection of both costume and more expensive fine jewelry. I let Joe know about it, and he explained that some of it was left to me, so when he could come over and we sort through it together. Lily came with him, which was fine. It was extremely difficult, and we were both very emotional, so I'm glad she was there to support him. Here's where I think I might be the asshole. As we're going through the jewelry, we had pulled out a couple of cheaper pieces of costume jewelry for Sarah to have now, and I had picked out a couple of rings, a necklace, and 3 pairs of earrings to keep, knowing that they will eventually go to Sarah as well. Joe and I agreed that the rest of it would be put away in the lockbox that we each have a key to at my house and would stay there until Sarah is older and it goes to her. One of those pieces being put away is a beautiful set of ruby and diamond earrings and a necklace that are obviously very real and we believe were passed down from Joe's grandmother. Lily had been admiring the set and making comments about how well it would go with the wedding dress she had been looking at. They aren't engaged, or even with some of her date night outfits. Joe didn't say anything to her in response, and when she put them down, I wrapped them back up and put them along with the rest of the jewelry in the lockbox. Since then, Lily has texted me multiple times asking about them and if she could just borrow them. At one point, she accused me of just wanting them for myself and pointing out that Joe and I were divorced and I didn't have any right to keep them. Like this bizzo has some kind of right to them as Joe's new girlfriend? I don't think you want to fight that battle, Bizzo. She also has said that when they get married, the jewelry will legally be part of their marital assets anyway, so I'm just putting off the inevitable. That's just not true. I'm not planning on wearing them per my agreement with Joe. I'll wear the pieces I picked out and the rest will stay put away for Sarah. I have zero intention of taking any of it out unless it's necessary, and even then I'll let Joe know what's going on with it. Joe has been radio silent and I haven't said anything because I don't want to cause any conflict that could have an impact on Sarah. So am I the asshole for not giving in and letting Lily have some of the jewelry meant for my daughter? No, you're not. You might be the asshole for not letting Joe know that his girlfriend is trying to get her hands on his mom's jewelry. She just wants to borrow it. Dollars to donuts. This Bizzo borrowing them would somehow turn into a long-term arrangement, i.e., she's never going to give them back. And her talking like somehow she's going to have some legal claim to it, and that's not how that works. She thinks she's going to take something that was part of an inheritance, essentially. It was part of a will. And like she's going to have some claim to it when they get married someday, even though it was already divided up, even though she would never have any kind of claim to an inheritance of his anyway. She's trying to take it from Sarah, the daughter, the 8-year-old. She's trying to pluck the diamond and rubies from this child. They'd go so nice with my date outfit. Maybe the wedding dress I'm looking at for someday. Which, by the way, at that point will be the time that I have legal claim to them, right? Dear Lulu, please tell Joe. You got to tell Joe. Joe needs to know. I am so glad that you guys not get together. You guys, what am I trying to say? You guys get along well. Shit. I'm so glad that you guys get along well. The fact that you still respect each other is even further evidence to support you telling him. Reverse the roles. You would want to know if your boyfriend was doing something like this, right? You would want to know if the person you were dating was making these kind of requests behind your back. That's an even bigger red flag. Joe needs to know. Joe needs to know. He needs to be on guard because if she's willing to take these things and be vicious with her claims, if she's willing to be shitty about this, he needs to know. Because that could also equate to her being shitty to Sarah. He needs to know. If for no other reason, for the protection of your daughter. He needs to know. Would you agree with that, Candy Thunder? You think he needs to know? He needs to know yesterday, she says. Yes. Blah! Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder, once again with another Reddit story for you. This one comes from AITA and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Laughing at My Parents for an Impossible Mix-Up? We were staying with my parents for 2 weeks and my daughter Lizzie is a vegetarian. We bought some impossible beef and we're going to use it for a later date. Oh, impossible means something I did not think it meant now. My whole family gives Lizzie a hard time for being vegetarian, but she has been one for almost 10 years, from 6 to 16. I have gotten all kinds of hell around the holidays because of things Lizzie wouldn't eat because it had chicken broth or bacon fat in it. And went to the freezer one day to thaw Lizzie meat for burgers that night. It was gone. My mom refused to get cataract surgery and somehow made the whole family Lizzie's gross fake meat, and not one person noticed. It was funny, and I told my daughter and my family and laughed at them. My dad got extremely angry at us because he always talks shit about grilling Lizzie's burgers and calls them gross. There were 2 meals that week. It could have been a meatloaf or taco meat, and no one noticed. My dad is calling me an asshole, saying, how could we be so careless and someone could have gotten sick from eating the fake meat? But it says impossible in large letters on the packaging. So it was my mom's mistake, and no one at the time said the meal tasted any different, not even my picky-ass father. So how judgmental they are of Lizzie. Then Dad refused to have the fake meat in the home because of that. Instead, Lizzie ate a mushroom burger, but I told him I think he's overreacting to this, but he told me I could stay in a hotel because I played a mean trick on everybody. He was grumpy with both Lizzie and I for the rest of the vacation. Comment on this one, they're just mad because their superior taste buds didn't catch the swap. NTA for sure. NTA is definitely right here. What bugs me more is Meat Sweat's grandpa here jumping up and being like, it's your fault. You played a trick on everybody. Bitch, nobody played a trick on you. Shit, sit your meaty ass down. Like, nobody played a trick on you. Your wife made a mistake, an honest mistake. It's not a big deal. Everybody ate it and enjoyed it. So the lesson we learned here is that, it's not bad. It's called impossible meat because it's impossible that it tastes so much like meat. I don't know if that's why it's called impossible. Okay, well, let's roll with that. They didn't notice him trying to turn this onto you and now creating boundaries where he won't keep that meat in the house, which harms your daughter. Like now he's singling her out, now calling you the asshole and saying that you can stay in a hotel because you played a mean trick. Except take some accountability here, bro. You know what I would have done though? And let me go ahead and do this. I've got to drop the petty bomb here because as I was reading this, I'm like, every time he said anything, my response would have been impossible, right? Like every time. If he was like, you played a mean trick on everybody, impossible. You can stay in a hotel now. I ain't keeping that meat in the house. Impossible. I would say it just over and over and over again. Get t-shirts made that just say impossible. Wear it over there for some kind of family event. Better yet, like arrange family photos and everybody can wear the impossible t-shirt. This is not an impossible situation. This is very, very simple. He can't accept the fact that he ate impossible meat. And you know what's funny is that it's like the reverse doesn't work, where she would get sick if she ate something with animal substance in it. He's trying to play like everybody was going to get sick from eating the impossible meat. I don't think it works that way, Broseph. Impossible. Everybody could have gotten sick. Impossible. You're NTA here. Yes, it's like the Princess Bride, inconceivable, but it's impossible. Hey, it's Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you. This one comes from True Off My Chest and is titled, I've been lying to my roommate about how much our bills cost. I, 24 female, and my best friend, 24 female, live in an apartment together. For privacy reasons, I will refer to her as Bree. The two of us have been best friends since we were 9. We met at school and have been inseparable ever since. If you ask me on a deeper level, I would probably say she is my sister, not just my friend. We ended up going to separate colleges, and during those 4 years, we always talked about how fun it would be to live together after graduation. Once we graduated, we decided to hold off on our dream of living together. The careers we chose aren't known for paying very much, and we needed to save money. We decided to live with our parents and save money for a few years. I will always acknowledge how blessed I am in the parent department. They were so easy to live with, and those years at home were actually really fun. Bree, on the other hand, has a more complicated situation. Her dad was never really around. He left when she was 7 and is completely uninvolved, and that left her mom to raise Bree and her 2 little sisters alone. I've been around long enough to also be close with Bree's family. The simplest way I can explain it, Bree's mom needs therapy. I have a lot of love in my heart for her mom, but I also know that my friend deserves better. I give her a lot of credit for the cycles of abuse that she did break. She is doing the best with the pieces she has to work with, but at some point, you need to get professional help so you and your children can have a normal, healthy relationship. Bree ended up filling the classic oldest sister stereotype, but on steroids. A lot of responsibility fell onto her, and somehow most problems were her fault. At a young age, Bree filled the role of a second adult in the house. On more than one occasion, I have been driven to angry tears on behalf of my friend. The years we lived with our parents, I was able to save most of my money. Bree, on the other hand, was not. As time went on, her relationship with her mom got worse and worse. I can't say it was ever healthy, but I had to sit down and watch it devolve into something worse than it ever was. I decided that it was time for me to move out of my parents' house and offered for Bree to come with me. I was prepared to live alone, but I wanted to give her a zero pressure option out if she ever wanted to take it. She agreed, but she would bring up concerns about being able to afford it. We found an apartment in our budget that we felt safe at. When it came time to set up utilities, Bree had a lot going on, so I told her I would take care of it. I set up all the accounts and told her she could just send me her half each month. Neither of us have high-paying jobs. I'm a teacher, but I know I make more than Bree. I was able to save up more money while living at home. Bree has anxiety about a lot of things, but money has always been a big one. We grew up in similar financial situations and both know the importance of saving whatever you can to try to avoid debt. When we got our first set of bills, it was about what I expected, but I started thinking of what 50% of it was, and I knew it would stress her out and wouldn't leave her with much money for expenses. I looked at my own budget and knew what I could afford, so I lied. I gave her a number lower than 50% that I thought she would find believable, and I've done that every month since. Rent is split 50-50 and she pays that on her own, but everything else, electricity, Wi-Fi, renter's insurance, etc., is all through me. And if I was honest, I'd say we split bills 70-30. If she ever found out, I know she would feel so guilty. A tiny part of me feels a little guilty for lying to her, but another part of me feels completely justified because of how good she is doing right now. Since living with me, she has started therapy, and I've seen a huge change. I've always seen Bree for the amazing girl that she is. For years, I have prayed that she will see what I see. She, just as she is so lovable. I don't think she sees all that I see right now, but for the first time, I've heard her start to say things like, I don't deserve to be treated that way, or, so I just left because I'm not dealing with that. With the space, her relationship with her mom has gotten a lot better. I plan on taking this to my grave if I can help it. Wait. Except the whole posting it to Reddit thing. She will never find out what I've done / still am doing. Sometimes people just deserve a break. After 20 plus years of her taking care of everybody else, I'm taking care of her whether she knows about it or not. I love you, Bree. You deserve the world. Edit. I've never posted on Reddit before, and I saw a few comments telling me to type in paragraphs. I think I split it up where it makes sense to most. Most of the Reddit content I've consumed up to this point has been other people reading it, so I didn't know. Thank you to everybody who's been so nice to me. I didn't think anyone would read it. I just needed a place to process the entire situation. And thank you for the feedback on typing in paragraphs. I don't know if I'll ever post again, but I'll remember that for next time. I'll screw that. Write how you want to write. Reformat whenever we bring stuff in. Let me adjust that. Candy Thunder formats and Tony Spark formats when they bring stories in so that I can read it normally. But yeah, you do you. Yeah, this was not at all what I expected. Holy shit, she's lying in like the most wholesome way anyone has ever lied before, to give her friend the independence and the freedom that she needs to become who she knows she can become, or to realize that she already is that person. That's probably more accurate. And wow. Green, I really need the green flag button now. Let's do this. This is a DFHB approved lying scenario. Yeah, I think that's completely okay. OP. I understand why you're doing it. My only concern is that, hopefully you both progress in your journeys here to a point where she wants to go live out on her own and start her own independent journey. She's going to be a little bit shocked whenever she gets that first round of utility bills in when she's living alone. That's probably going to be the time where you're going to have to be like, okay, so here's the thing. And I'm sure she's not going to be mad at you for that. But that's it. That's the only negative thing that I see in all of this. I think it's incredible that you're doing what you're doing because you were not privileged, but fortunate enough to be in a position where you could save more than Bree could. So now it's like that's a BFF right there. That is a BFF. Angel, I agree. No paragraph sucks, especially if you're reading on mobile. I get it. But I think for people to come back at a story and like for that to be the thing they focused on here, they're like, yeah, you did a really good deed. Write better. Best friends. Those are besties. Those are besties right there. I think that's awesome. Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.